Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture, back in our cozy hotel room here in LA to bring you all the ups and downs from Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor. That is right, Simon Miller has entrusted me with the finger of power. So let's up those downs for the Supercard of Honor. And before we dive into the main card, I should say congratulations for the winners on 0 Hour. They were Jeff Cobb, Konosuke Takeshita, easy for me to say, Willow Nightingale and Stu Grayson. But the big story, I suppose, from 0 Hour was the return of Nigel McGuinness to commentary. The main card started, though, with Commander challenging El Hijo del Vikingo for the AAA Mega Championship. And I've got to start straight away with an apology to you guys and to Simon Miller, because I really promised myself of my first ups and downs I was going to make vast amounts of notes of everything that happened in all the matches. And I gave up 2 minutes into this match because it was just so bloody ridiculous. They are insanely talented high flyers, these guys. Destroyer on the apron. That's just a casual note I wrote a few minutes into this match. There was a super Canadian destroyer from these guys. Every chance that they got, they were running and jumping off the ropes at ridiculous heights and angles and flipping and then contorting themselves in the air. All caps as well, one of the notes I've written to myself here. The table didn't break. Yes, it was not an American table, let's say, that they were using at ringside, because El Hijo did the spot that he did against Kenny Omega very recently on Dynamite, but Commander just basically took all of it. Vikingo retained the AAA Mega Championship via a 630. This was just jaw-dropping stuff from beginning to end, and I know this is my first ups and downs, and I know I'm still just sort of getting my foot in the door for presenting this, but bollocks, I don't know what the rules are. I'm going to make my own ones up. This doesn't just get an up, it gets a golden up. It was an absolutely brilliant, sensational opener, and I have not done it anywhere near enough justice. Go and watch this. You will be thoroughly entertained. A brilliant start to the evening. It was followed by the six-man tag titles, I should say, for Ring of Honor, obviously held by the Embassy. They were being challenged by AR Fox, Blake Christian and Metalik. And I've got to say, I was kind of thrown by this match because we were sort of getting into it, and the likes of Blake Christian, Metalik, and obviously AR Fox are brilliantly talented high flyers as well, in a tough spot following Commander and Vikingo's match. And the story was basically, although Brian Cage can do some ridiculous things for a man his size, the big guys in the Embassy kept having to try and cut off the littler guys because, well, they were just flipping and jumping around a little bit too much. Is it getting darker in here, or is it me? It feels like the light's fading and I might be falling asleep. The light is definitely fading. Thank you, Adam Nicholas. But okay, we'll carry on regardless. And I think a lot of people assumed that... okay. A lot of people assumed that the Embassy were going to be losing this match, because I think a lot of people assumed that Brian Cage was on his way out, there we go, of Ring of Honor, and therefore the finish kind of took me by surprise. The Embassy cut off Blake Christian, easy again for me to say, and just straight up murdered him, and in the end just hit all their big moves on Metalik to retain the six-man tag titles. This match, of course, gets an up. As I said, it was a bit of a difficult spot to be in for the high flyers because you're always going to look worse coming after Commander and Vikingo. Athena versus Yuka Sakazaki for the ROH Women's Championship. Kane's next. I think there was a bit of, not necessarily miscommunication for this match, more just they didn't seem to be on the same page throughout this, but they managed to pull it together in the end. Athena was sort of toying with her opponent and toying with the crowd. She just loves beating people up. She really hammered that home on the press conference afterwards as well. Yuka hit a really nice big dive off the entrance ramp to get back into it. But as Yuka was setting up to come off the ropes, Athena utilized the ref, got him in the way, basically, got Yuka distracted, and then hit a brilliant looking... Is it still called the Eclipse? Whatever the Eclipse is called nowadays. Yep. With Yuka sort of still in the ropes to get the 1-2-3 and retain the ROH Women's Championship. That gets it up as well. Like I say, it wasn't the match I was hoping that they could pull off, but they nevertheless really managed to execute that finish. And Athena rolls on, just kicking ass basically. Bit of a surprising result came next. It was the ROH TV title. It was Samoa Joe versus Mark Briscoe. A sort of very emotional, very charged match, this, of course. And I think a lot of people thought there's only going to be one result here because, you're not going to have Mark Briscoe build up to this with all the stuff that's gone on with him over the past few months and not have him beat Samoa Joe. But that is actually what happened. I did like the chop battle early on between the two of them where they just neither of them held back. Joe got a chair, so Mark Briscoe got a table. There was a power bomb into a submission, and Mark Briscoe scratched and clawed his way and managed to get to the ropes there. A really nice near fall that got all of us, myself and Adam Nicholas included, with the 2 count after this huge lariat from Samoa Joe. And then, we sort of went, okay, I can kind of see where this match is going. Mark Briscoe goes up top, he hits the froggy bow, he gets the 2 count, and you go, yeah, that makes sense. That's the 2 count. The J Driller is going to be the 3 count. But Joe snatched Mark Briscoe up with a choke and just kept fighting for it. And in the end, just, it's one of those ones where once he gets him down to the floor with the coquina clutch, Mark Briscoe can't really go anywhere. And referee stoppage means that Samoa Joe retains the TV title. I don't want to give this a down because I'm disappointed that my guy didn't win, basically, because I thought they worked a brilliant match, and I can hopefully see where this is going. Briscoe said himself in the press conference he's not done with Samoa Joe. Me and Nicholas were speculating about whether he loses this to eventually win the even bigger title of the World Championship. I'm not going to give this a down, of course, but it was a weirdly sort of deflating experience, although it was immediately then salvaged by this incredibly emotional response from the crowd. You got the reaction when he came out there. Everyone in the arena was standing. And then after the match, Joe celebrates, but then Joe leaves Briscoe to have that moment with his friends and his family and this adoring Ring of Honor crowd. I suppose we hold this for another day. There was a lovely line from Mark Briscoe in the press conference afterwards as well, where he talks about Jay being with him still in spirit, and he said, he's got the best life right now. I worked Samoa Joe tonight, and Jay worked Eddie Guerrero, which I thought was just a really lovely moment. We move on to Daniel Garcia versus Hiroshi Tanahashi, a match I didn't even realize was happening until about 2 days before this show, and it was ridiculous to see Tanahashi in the flesh. I've never been lucky enough to have that before. And Daniel Garcia, the sports entertainer that he is, despite the protestations from the crowd, he used basically every trick in the book, and at one point got some major heat by channeling one Shinsuke Nakamura, doing his pose up in the ropes, and going after the legs, basically, of Tanahashi. But Tanahashi is a wise old wrestler in there, and he fought through, and in the end hit a huge frog splash onto Daniel Garcia to get himself the 1-2-3 in this match. Another up for that one. It's a very positive show. It just rolled on really well as the light continues to fade here in this hotel room. We'll power on through, because next it was time to reach for the sky, boy. The ladder match for the Ring of Honor tag titles. Some fantastic performances from everyone involved in this. Obviously, the overarching story coming out of the back of this is kind of twofold. And I don't want to dismiss the fact that the Lucha Bros are tag team champions, because they more than earned it in this match. But first and foremost, from all of us here at WhatCulture Wrestling, our thoughts go out to Dante Martin. A horrific injury in this match, and we hope he gets well soon. You've no doubt seen this all over the internet. Just a really unlucky time for Dante and for Top Flight on the whole. It feels like whenever they start getting a bit of a head of steam up, something happens to one of them, and unfortunately it's Dante this time. But let's run through some of the big spots in this match. Mike Bennett and Matt Taven getting busted open by Aussie Open after they were slammed on the ramp halfway through this match. All the lads just desperately trying to sort of outdo each other with high-flying moves and just clobbering into each other with ladders that, have absolutely no give. There was a Poison Rana and a Destroyer combination on the Lucha Bros to take them out of the match early on. I did like the spot as well where ROH and Mike Bennett were set up in the middle of the ring. They're climbing up the ladder. Then they realised what was happening between the two of them. So they both agreed to climb back down, move the ladder to one side, and fight it out like gentlemen rather than, risking falling off these ladders. And then there was loads of spots with the ladder bridges that had been set up, not just in the ring, but out off the apron into the crowd. Taven and Darius Martin. There was a Spanish fly off a ladder bridge there. Darius then got back up immediately to get slammed into a ladder bridge on the outside by Aussie Open. Dralistico got splashed through a ladder bridge by Matt Taven. Really good pop, actually, when Alex Abrahantes and Jose, the assistant, got into it. And then came the spot that was, the big thing that had been planned. It had been out there for some time. These 4 tables stacked on top of each other and alongside each other, and we wondered who on earth was going to have to take that. It was combined with a ladder and then a ladder bridge onto the top rope, and you had both members of the Lucha Bros fighting out, and I believe both members of Top Flight were involved in it. In the end, though, it was Penta hitting a Canadian Destroyer off the ladder bridge through the 4 tables, which looked ridiculous in the moment, but obviously unfortunately led to that awful injury to Dante Martin. Get well soon once again. In the end, Rey Fenix knocked Taven and Bennett into ladders as they were climbing up the other ladders, and he grabbed the belts. And quite rightly, the Lucha Bros are your new Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. Out came Mark Briscoe to celebrate with them afterwards, as did a returning to Ring of Honor FTR. So it was all nice and well between everyone there, and hugs, and just an incredible, yet again, show of emotion for Mark Briscoe, and obviously the legacy that the Briscoe brothers have with these tag titles. But it'd be intriguing to see what happens with FTR if they are heading back to do more Ring of Honor stuff. Obviously, they've got a huge match coming up in AEW involving the Guns very soon as well. But naturally, I'm not going to give the match a down for an injury. These things happen, and it would be harsh to say that as well, because everyone just really put their bodies on the line for this one. And I think it was a match that everyone really enjoyed, and I have no doubt they did the Briscoe name proud by what they put on in this performance. Then it was time for the Pure title, Wheeler Yuta versus Shibata. And I think a lot of people, again, went into this, a lot of surprising results on this show, thinking, well, this will be a nice, another showcase a la when he fought Orange Cassidy for Katsuyori Shibata. Not the case, though, although we did get Mox coming out with Yuta. I mean, he may have played into things later on, but that was not the case. Shibata, despite Dave Meltzer's theory on what happened to him previously, let's say, he does not mess about in there. You could hear his strikes from the bathrooms, basically. He was just elbowing and beating and kicking the crap out of poor Wheeler Yuta here. And the no-sell spot where Wheeler Yuta was just putting everything into these chops, and Shibata wasn't just walking through them, he was arguably inviting more of them onto him, was a joy to behold. Yuta did take over at one point courtesy of a low blow as the referee was distracted, but Shibata controlled the majority of this match, wrestling the match you would expect from Katsuyori Shibata. Even had Wheeler Yuta beat and pulled him up so he could, check my notes, yes, beat him up with strong style a little bit more. Yuta spit in his face, not the best idea that. And basically, Katsuyori Shibata choked out Wheeler Yuta and then sort of sat him up for a huge punk kick. Light's gone again. To get the victory and become the Pure champion. I just wish there was another really technically gifted wrestler within the Blackpool Combat Club that maybe could challenge Katsuyori Shibata for that title. There we go. Right, main event time. Oh, And up for that, obviously, Kazuchika Shibata winning the Pure title. And it was main event time, Ring of Honor World Championship. Claudio Castagnoli versus Eddie Kingston, who was fizzing from moment one, basically. He at one point got knocked out of the ring by a particularly hard-looking European uppercut by Claudio and decided to just bring a chair into the match at that point before the referee reminded him probably not the best idea to do that in a world title match. But yeah, these two just desperately wanted to get their hands on each other. There was barely a moment's break at one point. Eddie Kingston was sort of slumped in the ropes, sort of effectively in like a 619 position, but Claudio was on the outside and he dragged him through the ropes and just slammed him on the floor, and it was very close to being a dangerous-looking spot there, but these two work so well together. Claudio did this big swing on Eddie, but tweaked his knee and gave Kingston a way back into it. Just huge, big strike exchanges between these two men. They were not holding anything back. And Eddie Kingston, I'm not sure if I mixed up two spots here, so I do apologise. I think at one point he got a near fall off the Hurricane, the spinning back fist that he did. And then later on, he went for it again, and there was just nothing behind it. And Claudio sort of laughed it off, thinking that he had this match won. And then Kingston just summoned it all up and nailed him a second time with it. Eddie kicked out from a flying European uppercut when it looked like all was going to be lost. And then Claudio got him in a choke and sort of swung him around, and he thought, okay, well, that's it. But the noise that this crowd made as Eddie Kingston kicked out at one after the choke swing, as I've called it here, was really something else. And you thought, this is it. This is the time. Eddie Kingston is finally going to win the big one. And then it was just technical brilliance from Claudio that allowed him to retain his world title. Kingston reversed a powerbomb, put him in a cradle, but Claudio reversed the cradle, got the 1-2-3. Eddie Kingston devastated. Claudio retains the Ring of Honor World Championship, and that match gets an up as well. Just a really enjoyable 3-hour show, this. Well worth checking out if you get a chance across WrestleMania weekend. I'd love to know your thoughts on it as well in the comment section or on Twitter at WhatCulture WWE. You can find me on there at Adam Wilborn. Normal service will resume this weekend, of course. We got lots more to cover. We got NXT Stand and Deliver coming, as well as Night 1, Night 2, and the Raw after WrestleMania 39. Simon Miller taking care of the ups and downs for the majority of those. But I said, let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for watching. Oh, I almost forgot to say, after the match finished, it looked like the Blackpool Combat Club, or at least Yuta and Claudio, were about to attack Eddie Kingston, but who should come out to make the save but new Ring of Honor Pure Champion Katsuyori Shibata. And then the show ended with Eddie Kingston asking, are we still on pay-per-view? And when he was told yes, he said, okay,